All right, welcome into SportsBIT. Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy on SBRpicks.com. We know you have a barbecue to get to, so let's get to it. Tomorrow, by the way, we start NFL team previews. Denver Broncos. Let's start with the champs. That's coming up. You know where we're going with Big Game Breakdown, Game 7. We try to make it 5 out of 6 with the play of the day. We start with bad beats. Let's go to Game 6. Everything we talked about on Friday's show happened. OKC couldn't handle the pressure. Again, they resorted to hero ball. We thought Westbrook maybe had a 10 of 34 performance in him. Well, he was 10 of 27. You cannot have a 7-point lead in a closeout game at home with 5 minutes left, and you're in the bonus and lose. And that's what happened with OKC. Hero ball got him beat, Teddy.
Yeah, well, hero ball and the fact that Klay Thompson had the game of his life. Thompson's had a couple of games of his life already in his life, but I mean, Thompson was nuts. And that last one, you know, when scores tied at 101 and Thompson hits a dagger from what it felt like, you know, the parking lot to put OKC down by 3, and it felt like the life just got sucked out of them right there. But at the same time, they scored 2 points in the final 3 minutes and 41 seconds of that game, as you mentioned, at home. Outscored 33-18 in the fourth quarter at home. You know, those are clearly problematic issues for the Thunder. But you look at the box score. If you didn't watch the game, you look at the box score and say, oh, it's all 3-point shooting. The Warriors go 21 of 44. OKC just 3 of 23. But the mistakes that Oklahoma City made with the basketball down the stretch, the one-on-one ball, and we'll talk about this a lot more when it comes to big game breakdown, but certainly it was not OKC's best game, and they played like the team that was under pressure.
Westbrook had 4 straight turnovers down the stretch. And it's something we usually talk about, respect the lines maker. That opened Golden State 1.5 and went to OKC minus 3.5. And, no, didn't look good there in the fourth quarter. But how about this, Teddy? OKC as high as $9 in-game in the fourth quarter.
Well, we're going to talk about some in-game opportunities that you had this past weekend betting baseball. But it doesn't shock me. It doesn't. I mean, that's the in-game numbers are set with very complex algorithms that have hundreds and hundreds and thousands of games, and how games are played and the game data baked into the system, and it's just spitting out numbers like that. In a normal situation, plus 9,000, plus 900 probably appropriate. Not necessarily against a Thunder team that has made a propensity for blowing leads in the fourth quarter. But, I mean, you talked about that opened Golden State 1.5. I mean, one book. It was a key book. Yeah. There was only one book that opened the Warriors as the favorite. Pretty much the markets moved from about 2.5, all the way up to 3.5, which is still a lot of money. But it wasn't a legitimate 5-point line move across the board, although the Thunder did take a ton of the cash. But you talk about all the issues from Westbrook. Iguodala, man.
Oh, it was huge.
It's huge in that game. And the guy gets no love. You know, you look at the box score, he doesn't fill it up at this stage of his career. He was a Finals MVP last year for a reason, and I thought he was the MVP, second to Thompson, obviously hitting all those shots in game number 6.
More bad beats. How about the White Sox? The whole weekend bad beats with their bullpen. And we'll get more on this coming up with Tampa and Kansas City later in the show. But 3 different White Sox relievers took the losses in the 3 days.
Well, I mean, look at the numbers. Live money line. This is from Sports Insight. Live money line comebacks this weekend against the White Sox. Friday, KC was plus 850. You could have them in live wagering. Saturday, plus 1661. Sunday, plus 1,000. That's pretty good for a baseball weekend. Right. You're not cashing 8.5 or better to 1 tickets over the course of 1 weekend in MLB. You don't cash those tickets very often, ever. But obviously 3 in a row against the White Sox speaks volumes. That White Sox bullpen, remember, we were talking about them throughout April and into May, saying, man, this is an overachieving unit. Man, they've really exceeded expectations. Not a good weekend for the White Sox bullpen, and really tough beats if you had Chicago in any of those ball games.
Here's another one yesterday. The Rays, the Yankees, for the first time in 102 years, won a game with a single hit. Castro broke up the no-no with a 2-run shot. That was the difference. 2-1 Yankees.
Yeah, and of course it was a 2-run shot, which is brutal. Obviously, if you had Tampa. I was on the right side of this one. I love to cash tickets where my team gets 1 hit. But it's your classic, I like the Eovaldi. I'm like, he's a bet on hurler all the way right now. And he's certainly, holding Tampa to 1 run, pitched a gem. But it wasn't the best game pitched in that contest. How about this one, Pauly? teams with one hit. They're now 3-3 this season in MLB. 3 different teams have won a game with one hit. You found that from Can't Predict Ball on Twitter.
And I can't believe it's the first time in 102 years for the Yankees. I mean, that's crazy.
To win a game with one hit? How often does that happen?
Yeah, I know. 3-3 this year, and then it took the Yankees over 100 years. Up next, Game 7, Western Conference Finals. Who's going to play Cleveland? We'll get to that coming up on SportsBIT. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Find the best tennis odds for each Grand Slam event. Research before you bet on SportsBookReview.com.
All right, time for Big Game Breakdown. Again, live odds, SportsBookReview.com. Game 7, Warriors 7, 218 the total. Teams at home in Game 7, 124 straight up. And we mentioned earlier with the hero ball, bad hero ball with Durant and Westbrook. They led by 5 at the half, but Durant and Westbrook had already taken 31 of 50 shots, and they made 11. Even with OKC leading, the flow never changed. Westbrook and Durant took 58 of the 90 shots and only made 20. They combined for 8 turnovers. Not a good ratio, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, 14 assists, 8 turnovers. We'll deal with that for OKC. But the fact is, Durant and Westbrook play a little bit too much hero ball, a little bit too much one-on-one basketball. Look, Steph Curry had as many rebounds as either of them in Game 5. He had more than either of them in Game 6. We know what a great rebounding guard Westbrook did. Well, Curry had 10, Westbrook 9, Durant 7. And oh, by the way, Curry played fewer minutes than them in each game. But we talk about this hero ball, this one-on-one ball that OKC was playing. It got worse with the game on the line. All right, Durant played 11 minutes in the fourth quarter. Westbrook played 10 minutes and 48 seconds. The duo combined to take 14 of the 19 shots. They only made 3 of those 14 shots. In the fourth quarter, Oklahoma City, 6 turnovers, 0 assists, and you gotta check out this graph. The final 13 Thunder possessions, this is what we mean by hero ball. Only one of those 13 possessions had more than one pass. There was one field goal. That was Andre Roberson after an offensive rebound. DeWant and Westbrook, 0-4 shooting with 6 turnovers. That, Pauly, that's giving a game away. That's too much pressure, not bringing your A game when it matters most. Now, of course, the pressure's off OKC in a sense as they travel to Golden State for Game 7, but that type of fourth quarter game on the line execution or lack of execution doomed the Thunder, and it's probably going to doom their season.
And I thought Curry made good points too. In the fourth, to meet with the media after the game, a lot of the OKC baskets in the fourth quarter were just on air balls and putbacks. And that's what happened with Robertson's putback as well. More fourth quarter. Durant was minus 15 in 11 minutes. Westbrook minus 14 in 10:48. Now, there's a reason they led the league in blown fourth quarter leads. I know Barkley ripped them in Game 5 and Game 6 in the postgame show about trust your teammates pass the ball. Well, Donovan pretty much said it after the game. Quote, we got a little stagnant coming down the stretch. I just didn't feel like we ran our offense with the pace and tempo that we needed to run it, end quote. But when you can throw out pace and tempo when you're talking about Klay Thompson. As we mentioned at the top of the show, these are from way out. In the one he hit in between half court and 3 with Westbrook in his face, and then when it's 101, Iguodala gets the steal. He fires it up to Thompson. He immediately shoots. On one of those threes, he wasn't even looking at the basket. He was in a zone, man, and set the record.
Yeah, and when you're going to get someone in a zone, stuff like that happens. But at the same time, if OKC executes their own offense down the stretch, they might have been able to overcome one of the historic three-point shooting efforts in NBA playoff history. But, I mean, it doesn't matter if you have pace or tempo. You can't get much pace or tempo if they're shooting before the ball has a chance to get moved. I mean, Klay Thompson was pretty brilliant on offense in that game, but we got to talk about Iggy because, Thompson outscores the Thunder by himself in the fourth quarter, 19-18. He hit 5 of 6 3-pointers. You talked about some of them really tough looks, some of them from real long range. But Iguodala, plus 14. He was quiet, just 11. He played over 11 minutes in the fourth quarter. He was on the floor for almost the entire quarter. Only took 2 shot attempts, only made 1. No rebounds, 1 assist. But 3 steals and absolute lockdown defense on either Durant or Westbrook. He guarded them both whichever guy he was called out of guard. To Iggy, it's like, which one do you want me to take, coach? No big thing.
Yeah, he's on LeBron last year, won Finals MVP. He doesn't care. Curry, awesome. After a slow start, 31 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals. So to quiet most of these hurt, and he's only playing at 70% people, which I don't know if that came from his camp, a family member, I don't know, or even from himself. But Green still got plus 16 out of 42 minutes, 12 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists rather, and 3 steals. Now, how about this? This is their first Game 7 at home since 1976. You got to be kidding.
Yeah, I mean, it is worth noting that we talked a lot about the pressure, and OKC wilted under the pressure in Game 6. Now, the pressure's on Golden State, and they haven't had a home game since Game 7 since 1976. They did not play a Game 7 on their way to the title last year, Paul. Mm-hmm. Now, OKC, they have a win and cover against Memphis in the first round, Game 7, 2014. Durant and Westbrook were monstrous in that game. They were combined 22 of 34. Both were better than plus 20 in their minutes on the floor. Both had great games against the Grizzlies. They also won Game 7 at home in 2011, also versus Memphis, also in an earlier round series. Durant went nuts in that contest, 39 on 13 of 25 shooting, so he's scoring 39 points on 25 shot attempts. And Westbrook didn't shoot that well, but he was plus 18. He had 14 assists and 10 boards. So for what it's worth, OKC has been there before. Golden State, not so much in these Game 7 situations. And the pressure equation has flipped here. GSW now expected to win this game, and OKC trying to be the upstart to dismiss them. That being said, Paul, let's be honest. When Thompson hit that three, and OKC didn't respond back with the score on their next possession, it kind of, you felt like something clanged right there. You know, it felt like the series shifted right there. I don't know if I can get to the window with OKC tonight. I really don't.
Yep, and you saw the silly turnovers at the end. It's going to be hard for them to respond after you're ready to celebrate and you blow that big lead this close to the NBA Finals. Now you got to go on the road, and they have to win 2 games now. They'd have to win twice in Golden State to win the series. Up next, 2 baseball games, and we look to make it 5 out of 6 with the play of the day. It's coming up on SportsBIT. Betting Insight today.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
All right, back on SportsBIT. Remember, liveoddsportsbookreview.com. Yankees, Blue Jays. Blue Jays $1.59 the total. Estrada against Nova. We talked about this game last week. It was a 8-4 final when the bullpens got involved. The game went crazy with the total. But a lot of people, advanced metric people, are surprised and fooled by Estrada. Well, don't let the numbers fool you, Teddy.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we really try to emphasize here on SportsBIT, where the numbers are lying to you, because so much of the baseball betting marketplace is based on these advanced metric numbers that oftentimes tell a story that's more accurate than the mainstream data. But in the case of Marco Estrada, it's clear to me that the advanced metric numbers are offering less of a good opinion on what he's doing. Look, in 2005, the guy goes 13-8 with a 3.13 ERA, 3.13. But look, the fielding independent pitching says that ERA is over a run too low. The Sierra says it's over a run and a half too low. So then you look at 2016. The win-loss record is only 2-2. The ERA is at 2.76. But the fielding and pitching, the FIP says, guess what? His ERA's a run too low. The Sierra says his ERA's a run and a half too low. It's the same story. When you start to see that pattern year after year after year, your ears got to perk up. You say, all right, there's something that this guy is doing that the advanced metric numbers aren't reacting to appropriately. And really, this guy he's a poor man's catfish hunter. He works high in the strike zone. He gets a lot of fly ball outs to the power alleys. He just doesn't let the ball to get pulled very often. The metrics hate the fact that it's BABIP, the batting average on balls in play, just 215 over the last 2 seasons. But it's been 4 straight years at 262 or less. He's not going to maintain 215. But when your batting average on balls in play is consistently way below the league average, there's something to be said for that. And Marco Estrada is one guy who the advanced metric numbers, they're telling lies about him, and he offers value in the marketplace as a result.
Yep, well said. And then you have Nova, who knows he only has to go 6 strong and throw low strikes. You look at this graphic, walks per 9 innings, Kershaw number 1, Tomlin number 2, and then Nova. And ground ball percentage, Nova would be number 1 with 63.6, followed by Garcia and Stroman. But you saw it yesterday, Teddy, when you get 6 strong innings and you turn it over that Yankee bullpen, it's lights out.
Yeah, I mean, Sunday at Tampa, Betances, Miller, Chapman, they faced 9 batters in 3 innings. 0 runs, 0 hits, 0 walks, 7 strikeouts. That's a strong back end of a bullpen. Now, they all did go on Sunday, but none of them went on Saturday. All 3 should be available to go again today. It's also worth noting that for Nova's number, you saw those really impressive stats for Nova, he does not yet have enough innings to qualify among the Major League Baseball leaders. But, he only 37 innings pitched so far this season. If he did, you'd see he would number 1 in ground ball rate, number 3 in walk rate, and of course, those are good numbers to have and the type of numbers that the betting markets will always respect.
One more, Rays and the Royals. Andres against Kennedy. Pick 'em, 8 the total. And the Royals, what they did this past weekend can be described as one for the ages. And to do it without Gordon and the Moose was huge. But can they keep it up, Teddy?
Well, that's just it. It's not just Gordon and the Moose. Look what happened on Friday. They're down 5-1 in the bottom of the 6th. They win that game 7-5. They're down 7-1 in the bottom of the 9th on Saturday. Win that one 8-7. They're down 4-2 in the bottom of the 8th on Sunday. Win that one 5-4. And on Sunday, they were missing a third key member of the lineup. They're playing without Salvador Perez, Pauly, and that is an impact absence. He's supposed to be out for the next 7 to 10 days. But look at the WAR. Wins above replacement. 2014, he's number 4. 2015, number 7. So far this year, number 2. So when you're talking about gutting out 3 wins versus a team that entered the series ahead of them in the standings without 3 of your best players, that's impressive, Paul. No question about it.
Yeah, oh yeah. And then you have Andres, who's been up and down several times this season, AAA and back. Only 8 starts and 25 appearances. Now 3-0 with a 2.63 over his 4 starts after 6 starts at AAA. Good rhythm and control, only 1.9 walks per 9 innings, but not a strikeout guy. So we'll need defense on the road without Forsythe and some of the injuries that they have there. So an interesting game coming up tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing with with KC, this is a guy, with Andres in particular, he's settling in now nicely. He had to scratch his head a bunch. Look at that picture. He scratched his head the whole time. You've been wondering what his role is. Am I in the bullpen? Am I a starter? Now he's locked into this starting spot. He's pitched very, very well. 4 starts, as you mentioned, 3-0, 2.63. And the walks are way down. He's not putting extra batters on base. He's showing signs of being a bet-on hurler as well.
Yeah, Andres, potato. One more thing, too. you saw it with Familia. You saw it in the White Sox game. Do not bring a closer in when it's a blowout. It's stupid. They always make it interesting, and they're not used to it. Familia blew a 4-run lead against the Dodgers, although Granderson had a walk-off. You saw what happened in the White Sox game. I've been following baseball for 30 years. It is a horrible idea to bring a closer in a blowout because they always make it interesting, or they flat-out blow the game. Stupid.
I'm with you 1,000%, Paulie, and I agree with you 1,000%. That being said, what do you got for play of the day for us, man? Right. We're going to the Stanley Cup Finals starting tonight.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. Let's make it 5 out of 6 here. We are going with Game 1 Stanley Cup Finals tonight in Pittsburgh. Betting number 51-52 under 5.5. $1.35 to the under. Murray's been awesome in nets, and Pittsburgh's been tough at home. So we expect a low-scoring game with a small layoff with both teams. Feel each other out in Game 1. Let's stay hot. Money time. Game 1 Stanley Cup Finals under. Have a happy Memorial Day. Remember, we're back tomorrow. We start team previews in the NFL with the Super Bowl champs, the Denver Broncos, on SportsBIT. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.